Hey guys, I thought I would share a story with you this morning. I was blow drying my hair, and my daughter's birthday is coming up in just a couple days, and she's been on my mind, and so you know how when you're blow drying your hair, you're just thinking about any and everything and nothing. So this story came to mind, and y'all, I laughed and I cried all at the same time sitting here thinking about this story, and I thought, this is every mother's worst fear. I think every mother has a story, and if you don't have one of these stories, good for you. But this is my story, and I thought I'd share it with you. I messaged my best friend this morning when I told her, I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing a story time on my channel about that time I lost Cameron. And she was like, yes, 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 yes. She said, that's the best and worst memory of all of our lives. So let me share my story with you. Now, when our kids were little, we lived in Arkansas. In the sticks, and I do mean the sticks. We lived in the middle of a corn fields. There was corn as far as you could see this way, corn as far as you could see this way, that way, and that way. It was corn, and we always joked that my kids were raised in the middle of a cornfield, and that's not a lie. They really were. So anyway, at that time, I stayed home with my kids, but to make money, I sewed for the public. And so at the time, I was working on a little costume for a pageant for somebody, and it was just kicking my butt. It was gold lame, and it was frustrating, but I had my sewing table set up at the patio door, because like where you looked at our patio there, it was fenced in right there, so I could let the kids go out and play, and sit there while I was sewing and supposedly keep an eye on them. So this day I was fighting with this costume, trying to get it made. Now keep in mind, Clay that you see in my videos was a brand new baby, so that would have made Cameron almost 4. So anyway, I was sewing. She came and said, Mom, can I go outside and play? And I said, sure. She's going to be right here in the yard where I can see her. She's 4 years old. And I know that might kind of sound young to be like unsupervised. It was a fenced in little area. It was not a very big area at all. I could see the whole area from where I was sitting. And she was an amazing kid. Like if she was a mature way beyond her years, always has been, and I'm assuming she always will be. We've joked and called her the mama of our family because she acted more like a mama than I did. But anyway, let me get on with my story. She'd asked if she could go outside and play, and I said sure. So I don't know how much time passed. I don't. I was sewing. I didn't feel like there had much time had passed, but anyway, my son, now you're going to hear me say this, my son that I'm going to speak of in this video is Cole, who is my trans child who now goes by Nicole. So if you hear me mess up in the video while I'm telling the story and say like he or Cole, I'm actually talking about my trans child who is now Nicole. Anyway, and I spoke with her earlier and asked how she preferred that I tell the story, and she said she didn't care, so I could say either way. Beside the point. Anyway, so Cole came up and said, Mom, where's Cameron? And I said, she's outside playing. And he said, no, she's not. And I said, yeah, she is. And anyway, I go on sewing. He got distracted. And, in my mind, not very long periods of time was passing. So a few minutes later, he comes back and he goes, Mom, she's not out there. And I said, Cole, she is out there. She just came and asked me if she could come and play, or she could go and play. So I know she's out there. And a few minutes passed, and he came back and he said, Mom, I can't find her. She's not out there. And so he is about 6 years old. I thought, okay, let me get up and go help him. You know how husbands and kids are. They don't really look for anything. They just kind of say they do. So I got up and looked, and I didn't see her. And I thought, well, okay, she's here somewhere. Don't freak out, because I'm the kind of parent that tends to go, oh, like that immediately. So I'm trying to say, you freak out too quick. Just calm down, and we'll find her. So I look around, and like I said, it's not a very big fenced-in part. It wasn't very many places to look. Well, I leave outside the fence and I go all around the house now. And of course, there's this fear in my stomach that we live in the middle of all these cornfields. She could be, the corn was taller than she was, so she could be anywhere in this corn and we wouldn't know it, and she wouldn't know how to find her way back out. And I'm thinking, but I've stressed to them, do not go into those cornfields. And they never had before, so I thought, I know she didn't today either. And but that was in the back of my mind. And also, like I said, we lived in a teeny tiny town in Arkansas. Now, this can tell you exactly. I think the population at the time was like 500 people. There was one road in and one road out. It was like a main road. Well, on one end, you came in through the town, and on the other end, you had to cross a ferry to get across the river to get out. So, yeah, we were pretty isolated. But it was a main road, and like diesel trucks would come through there, like the pulpwood trucks taking wood and stuff like that. And then, and you know, random cars would come through there. And Cameron was the type child, she pushed the envelope with everything. If I said, you can go, this is actually what I would say, don't go to the end of that driveway, she would go like within a half inch of the end and go, but I'm not at the end. So, and she was bad about doing that, but there were hardly ever any cars, and she had gotten many spankings over that. So she wasn't real bad about going to the end of the driveway. But in the back of my mind, I'm going, oh my God, what if this was the day that she decided to go sit at the end of the driveway, and while I wasn't looking, somebody snatched her. Anyway, I'm still trying to be calm. Now, thank goodness Clay was asleep, and so I'm hunting for her, and I think, okay, stay calm. She's here somewhere. So I look outside. You know how you walk around the house about 20,000 times, and the whole time I'm screaming her name as loud as I can, and nothing. So I'm thinking, okay, she's here somewhere. So then I come in and I start looking in all the rooms of the house. No Cameron. So now I'm kind of going, okay, she's here somewhere. Calm down. You're gonna find her. And so I keep looking, and the whole time I'm looking, Cole's walking along beside me going, somebody got her, Mom. Somebody got her. That's what happened. Somebody got her. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, just hush, Cole, please. So then it starts, like the panic, that low, slow build of a panic has started to set in. So at this point, I'm, flipping under the beds looking. I was looking in kitchen cabinets. I was looking everywhere. Nowhere. Closets, everywhere. Cameron was not to be found. Well, as I walked back through, where the little fenced-in yard part was, our neighbor wasn't real close. They were, off in the distance. But I could see that they had laundry hanging out on their clothesline. And I thought, oh, that's what happened. Cameron's a little visitor, and so she saw them out hanging their laundry out, and that's where she is. She's over there. See, you figured it out. That's where she is. So I go in the house, and I call over to our neighbors, and the man wore a hearing aid. So now I'm already a little bit like this, and he's not understanding what I'm saying. And I kept saying, Mr. Paul, is Cameron over there? Mr. Paul, is Cameron over there? And of course, he's not understanding me, not hearing me or whatever. Maybe I'd woken him up from a nap. I don't know. Anyway, I said, Mr. Paul, I see y'all have clothes on your line, and I thought maybe Cameron saw y'all putting them on there, and she came over, to visit with y'all while you were doing that. And so he finally understands what I'm saying, and he said, oh no, we haven't seen her today. And I lost it. I'm like, oh my God, that was my last resort. I don't know what, she's gone. And so I started crying, and I was like, Mr. Paul, I can't find Cameron. She's gone. Oh my God, call me, somebody help me, somebody help me. Which, he's an older man, and it upset him to no end. And, I'm going to make myself cry. Isn't that just your worst fear, to think that your kid is gone? Because, in my mind, I've looked everywhere she could possibly be. She's not here. And I do live on this road where if somebody was going to get her, I've already waited long enough now trying to be calm that they're gone with her, So, oh my goodness. So here comes Mr. Paul out of his house carrying the phone book, like, who do you want me to call? Who do I call? And I'm like, I don't know. So I go in the house, and all I know to do is call my best friend on earth. And I'm like, oh my God, Lisa, I can't find Cameron. Oh my God. And she's like, okay, we're going to find her. And she's amazing. She has kids. She has 3 kids. She's like, I have 3 kids, all of the same ages as my kids. And so she's like, okay, we're going to find her. I'll get you. I'm going to get down there, and I'm going to help you. I'll come help you find her. And now we lived in a farming community. So all the people down in the where we lived, had radios. All of them had radios in their trucks. So Lisa gets on, like the main radio, and she calls her husband and says, hey, Gina's lost Cameron. We need some help finding her. And well, that's just like boom, 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 boom. One person tells another. So now everybody knows that she's missing. And y'all, it's amazing when you live in a small town like that. That's the part that makes me cry. For everybody to have come together in my little moment of need, you know, literally they search everybody. Like, my house is ways off the road. Immediately trucks start pulling into my house. Everybody's coming there, they're calling the hands out of the fields and all that kind of stuff. And my best friend's husband calls, and he happens to be friends with like the state trooper, and they have the main road in town shut down. And they have somebody posted out there, and then they have the ferry shut down. Nobody can cross the ferry because we can't find my child. And so people start piling in. There's only one store in our area, and the lady that owned that store, she comes flying down there. Everybody's going, okay, let's get a game plan and figure out what we're gonna do. While I'm shaking and going, oh my God, and they go, I'm sure you've looked in the house. I'm like, yes, I've looked in the house. I mean, what do you mean? What have I looked in the house? You don't. I wouldn't. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to call anybody. But anyway, as we're standing there talking, y'all, where this came from, I do not know. I heard, go in your bedroom all the way to the wall. And so that's what I did. I just left people standing there. I go in my house. I go into my bedroom, and I just like bump myself into the wall, and I'm like, I'm here now, what? I mean, I don't know who's saying that. I don't know where that came from. That's a mother's intuition. I have no clue what that was. And as I go to turn around, I see little blonde hair. Now let me help you understand. We had, a water bed, and that was one of those water beds that just had the wood frame with the plastic insert that held the water. So I just glanced down. Now keep in mind too, while this is all going on, I had flicked that bedspread up off of that bed probably 100 times, just because, when you can't find them, and this has been a while. I mean, we're working on probably about an hour at this point, and that's a long time to be missing your kid. And so I'm frantic. I have flipped that bedspread up off of that bed 1,000 times, and it's a water bed, so there's nobody laying there. And so anyway, when I see the little blonde hair, and all I did was I saw like just a little bitty piece, about maybe that much of blonde hair beside the pillow, and I'm like, wow, I found her. So I ran outside and I go, oh my God, y'all, I found her. And the lady that owned the store said, where is she? And I said, she's in there in my bed. And the lady goes in there, and she comes back out, and she said, Gina, she's not in there. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't pick the cover up. I just saw the blonde hair and assumed it was her, and maybe it was a baby doll. Maybe, I wasn't thinking, So I fly back in there, and I'm like, oh my God. Now guys, my little daughter, she was BAD. I wouldn't ever say like, oh my God, y'all are so bad. I would say, oh my gosh, they're so BAD. Well, of course, then they learned how to spell BAD. So it was a joke at our house that our kids were always BAD. But anyway, she was BAD, and she gave me a run for my money. I forgot to tell y'all, my mom was a school teacher out in the town about 15 miles away, and I called out there going, I can't run, get my mama. And so my mom she came flying down there. Everybody has literally, emerged. Everybody's just like piled in at my house. So anyway, I go back in the house, and I'm like, Lord, please let that be my child. So what had happened, like I said, it was a water bed with that rubber insert that held the water. And how like the rubber insert was like butted up against the wood. She had wedged her body. Like when you would take the bedspread off my bed, like the pillows were laying up there at the head of the bed, and you could clearly see there was nobody in the bed. Well, she had wedged her body. She had moved the water thing over and squeezed herself down in my bed, and the pillow was covering her face up. So when I was like, nothing was showing but her face. And so when I would flick the bedspread, the pillow had her face covered up. Who knew somebody could wedge themselves down in a waterbed like that? So I snatched the pillows off this time, and there she was. Had not woken up. She was asleep. And now, y'all, any other time in life, I could have farted 3 rooms over and woke her up. This day, I'd screamed my guts out. Never woke her up. did not bother her. She slept right through it all. So, you know, I didn't pick her up out of there. I'm just like, she's here. Oh my gosh, she's here. And so I go outside, and of course, you know, the lady on the grocery store, she goes back in and she goes, okay, yeah, she is in there. I'm sorry, she was, which made me feel good because I thought, well, I don't look so stupid now for not being able to find her when, I mean, I told, you know, Paulette that she was in there and she didn't see her even after I told her she was in there. So that kind of made me feel a little bit better. But guys, like I said, Clay was a tiny baby when this all happened. And I was nursing him, and that's one of the reasons I had tried not to get upset, because I know it flavors. I say this, I don't know it to be true, but I've heard that it emotions, you know, makes your milk taste, you know, not good. And so I had tried to stay calm, and you know, that was not happening. And so anyway, we all calm down. Everybody goes back, you know, to their day. And except my mom. My mom's like, girl, you need to sit down and calm down. I'm taking Cameron home with me. So she took Cameron home with her. Cameron and Cole, I think. And so I was just left with Clay there at home. Now, mind you, in the meantime, my husband doesn't even know what has happened either. Nobody told him. And he was out in one of the fields working. And everybody radioed, everybody but him, you know. I guess they're trying to save his feelings, you know, about it or whatever. But anyway, that evening I'm sitting there. Here comes a knock on the door. And I go to the door, and it was one of the little neighborhood kids. And he had a Ziploc bag with one little pill over in the corner of it. And he goes, my mama said you're going to need this. It was like a nerve pill or something. I didn't take it because, you know, I wouldn't have anyway, but I was nursing, and so I wouldn't take it. And I was like, thank you so much, you know. And so a few minutes later, here comes another knock on the door, and my best friend brings me 2 cans of like made up baby formula. She said, girl, you gonna need this. She said, you're gonna be serving that baby curdled milk. And I was like, oh my gosh, y'all, I just can't tell you what a crazy day that was in my life. It was like, I don't want to say it was the worst, but I mean, it was terrible because I thought I had lost her. I thought I've lost my kids several other times. I'll have to save those stories for you for later, because y'all, it got crazy around my house. But anyway, yeah, that was like the worst feeling, for one, because it lasted so long. Usually, you know, your kid, you know, walks away from you and they're gone for a few minutes and you find them and it's all over with. But this just kept going and kept going and kept going. Time kept getting longer and longer, and I'm like, oh my God, there's just no way we're going to find her now. She really is gone. So guys, I'm known in my hometown as the lady that lost her kid in her house. I don't think I'll ever live that story down. As long as I live, I don't care. But at the time, they would pick on me about it. But it was all fun picking, you know, all in good, you know, fun. And y'all, I'm going to tell you, the benefit of living in a small town. I remember thinking when I lived in the middle of that cornfield, oh my God, I just want to leave this cornfield. And now I would go back to that cornfield in a split second. I miss that. I miss that sense of community that we had. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody loves everybody. Everybody watches out for everybody. I mean, literally, if I hadn't known it before, that day proved to me how cared about we were in that community and what amazing friends we have. But guys, I lost my kid. Thankfully, I found her, and it all was, you know, it had a happy ending, but it was one hell of a day. That's all I have to say. Okay, guys, let me know if you've lost your kids or if you have stories like this and what you think about these story times. I'm full of them. So, anyway, that's my story for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.